The penetration right now for home standby generators in the United States is 6.5%. Well, 22.7% of people have portables. That means that they're getting ready and they know that they need to have, I think, quite frankly, that that's the real penetration rate. Welcome to the Standby Generator Podcast, brought to you by Power Alliance. I'm your host, Jim Swetman. Together, we will dive into the world of the standby power business, offering expert insights, industry trends, and actionable strategies to help you grow and scale your generator business. Whether you're looking to optimize your operations, increase profitability, or stay ahead of the curve, this podcast is your go-to resource. So grab a seat and let's power up your business for success. Welcome to this week's episode of the Standby Generator Podcast. Hi, I'm Jim Swetman. I want to dive into some detailed information about Generac. And as you know, being a standby power dealer here in the United States, over 80% of all residential standby generators are manufactured by Generac out of Wisconsin. One of the things that I used to do when I was a dealer is I used to religiously follow what Generac was doing as far as sales go, growth, margins, either in the residential or the C&I space. I wanted to understand exactly what they were doing because I kind of mirrored my company as far as what I should be doing for growth and the growth that I see in the industry. And I would always kind of talk to my employees too when I had company meetings about what I called the mothership was doing. And I followed, and I used to listen to the quarterly results at Generac. And I think you, as a standby power dealer, whether you're Kohler, Generac, Briggs & Stratton, Cummins, whatever you sell, you cannot ignore Generac and what they're doing as far as pricing and sales go. So you, as a business owner, should be following what Generac is doing out there, and that will help you understand what the market is doing. So I'm just going to go over some information here. And I've had, through the Power Alliance here in helping out standby power dealers throughout the United States, I was talking to one young dealer in Connecticut, and he's moving into the standby power market, being an electrical contractor. And he says, oh my gosh, I never knew that the margins were so good compared to just doing regular electrical work. I think I might be moving into doing standby generators. And I told him, absolutely, you should. Build your company up. There are other episodes that I've done about how to build your company up from basically nothing to being successful. But I said, you should. And then I said, you know what? Have you ever listened or looked at what Generac was doing as far as a corporation? So that's what I want to do here. The answer is, I get questions. Should I be in the market? What is the growth? What is the penetration rate? What is the world doing out there as far as generators go? Well, you know what? I've got the answers here. So let's dive in. Let's look at 2024. Again, this is Generac. As you know, they are a publicly traded company. Last year, 2024, residential product sales increased 18% to $2.43 billion in residential sales. Now, what is residential sales? Residential sales is, of course, the standby generators themselves, the portable generators, residential energy storage, load management, EV chargers, and things like that. But the majority of that is the residential generator sales, the transfer switches, and everything that has to go with it. But let me just go back to that number again. In 2024, Generac reported an overall increase in 18% of standby residential generator sales to $2.43 billion, and that's up from $2.06 billion in 2023. The company is initiating a full 2025 year growth of 3 to 7%. So let's take a look at first quarter of 2025 of what Generac did, and this is the first quarter results that came out in April of 2025. Residential product sales increased 15% to $494 million compared to $429 million of last year, which already saw a huge growth. So if you're a standby power dealer that sells Generac generators, first quarter this year, Generac saw a 15% growth. First quarter results exceeded their expectations as a result of continued strong growth in residential product sales, said Aaron Yegfeld. Gross profit margin for Generac, total as a company, was 39.5% compared to 35.6% prior year first quarter. So even their profits are up. So you, as a standby power dealer, says, oh my gosh, this is a growing industry. This is an industry where there is opportunity. This episode of the Standby Generator Podcast is proudly presented by Power Alliance, the only mastermind community built specifically for standby generator dealers. At Power Alliance, we believe growth happens faster when you're connected. That's why we bring together like-minded dealers across the country to share real-world insights, solve challenges, and accelerate business success together. From streamlining operations to scaling your service division, Power Alliance gives you the tools, support, and community to take your business to the next level. Learn more and join the movement at www.poweralliance.com. Let's dig a little bit more into Generac again in case you don't know the details. But again, as a business owner, if you sell Generac and that's your primary source or you sell it, you should understand what the mothership is doing. Right now, Generac, this is 2025 first quarter results, 9,200 employees worldwide. Last year, they did $4.3 billion in total sales. That's industrial, commercial, and worldwide sales. How does that break out commercial and industrial? Well, 57% of Generac's revenue is residential sales. 32% is commercial and industrial, and 11% is others. So 84% of Generac's revenue is domestic and 16% is international. They were founded in 1959. So just some ideas as far as what's going on. And again, we talked about the residential side. They did $2.5 billion total in 2024, $1.4 billion in sales of the C&I commercial and industrial, and all other sales were about $500 million. So you can see they dominate in the residential side of things. Another question people have, and I heard this number quite a bit going around, is how many residential dealers are there? Generac says right now there's 9,200 residential dealers that provide direct sales, install, and service. 9,200 dealers that are out there. I've heard the number 8,500, 8,300, but officially now it's up to 9,200 dealers. Now, you as a Generac dealer that's just getting started, you're one of those ones. But if you're a Generac dealer that's been around for 5, 10, maybe in 15 years, those numbers aren't very comforting because that means more competition in your town, in your village, in your city about how do I go ahead and make those sales. And believe me, Generac wants as many residential dealers as possible, for the obvious reason of making sales. I have done other podcasts as far as how do you compete in a market that has become saturated with dealers. So scroll down, listen to some of my other podcasts, or give us a call and we can help you out. Here's some other very interesting statistics about Generac, and I think this is very, very important of where the industry is going. When I started my standby power dealership, which I've sold I sold it now 5 years ago now, but in 2002, when Generac was privately owned, it did about $300 million in sales. 10 years ago, in 2014, Generac did $1.5 billion in total sales. In 2024, you heard the numbers, Generac did $4.3 billion in sales. In a 10-year period, it has gone it's 3 times or 300% more in sales. It's gotten 3 times larger, from $1.5 billion to $4.3 billion in just 10 years. And it is not going to slow down. Why is it not going to slow down? It's, if you remember, if you went to the Generac dealer conference, and everybody kind of knows this, is what they call the mega trends that are going on there, right? Climate change and severe weather. One-way system prone to outages. One way is just the utility providing power. That's it. You don't have any, say, a small microgrid at your house. You're not storing power or you're not generating power through wind. So it's a one-way system, which is a deteriorating supply. Infrastructure under development. Penalties for carbon intensity, right? There's all the carbon tax now. So if you're a utility, you own a coal plant, you're paying a lot more money. And of course, things are just not going good as far as the supply go. The demand, let's talk about the imbalance, right? So we talked about supply reliability deteriorating. On the demand side, electrification of everything. Again, something that you've heard before, but everything being electrified. Transportation, EVs, right? Cars, transportation, HVAC appliances, data centers, and AI. Increasing demand for power that's going on out there. Your home is a sanctuary. People are working out of their homes and they want power in their homes. And of course, the commercial and industrial, the C&I processes, the manufacturing that's going on require demand and power. So the mega trends are home is a sanctuary, lower power quality, and that's just not the quality of the power that you're getting, but all of the weather trends that are going on out there, and of course AI adoption and things like that. Okay, Jim, and I've had this question asked before. What is the current penetration rate of standby generators that are out there? Right now, the current U.S. penetration rate for standby generators is 6.5%. 6.5% of all single-family residential homes have an automatic standby generator. Let's put that in perspective. 1% of penetration is a $4 billion opportunity for standby generators. When I started the company, my company that I used to own 22, 23 years ago, we were at a 1 to 2% penetration rate as far as standby generators. Where are the opportunities? Where are the opportunities to have a standby generator dealership, or what are the penetration rates by state? Generac does not publish those, but they did give a graph that showed generally what the penetration rates are, and they did list some states that the penetration rates are. The highest state that has the penetration rate is Maine. Is 25% of homes in Maine have a automatic standby generator system. And, they're just way up there in nowhere land. So I have my sister-in-law lives up in Maine, and things are still pretty rough up there. It's pretty crude up there in Maine. So Michigan, 17% penetration rate in Michigan. Now, also has a very high penetration rate for standby generators is West Virginia and Louisiana, of course, because of the hurricanes. So Louisiana has higher, much higher than the 6% rate. They don't tell us what it is, but it's a very high rate. Now, the three most populous states in the United States, Florida has a 6% penetration rate, Texas has a 6% penetration rate, and California has 2%. Now, what's interesting is Florida, you would think, would be higher than that. You would think with all the hurricanes that come through Florida that they would have a much higher. So there's definitely opportunity there. And of course, Texas, opportunity there, especially the growth that's going on. California, 2%. I don't know, honestly, if you're a business owner, if you ever want to do work in California, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, it's got to be almost impossible to do anything in California and try and make money. So stay out of California. That's my thing. Now, where do I see, I'm just looking at a map here. Don't go by me. But there's definitely opportunity in Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and also up the East Coast there, Pennsylvania and New York. Those are what I consider right at the penetration rates that are there. And then out west, well, the population drops off pretty good. So obviously those penetration rates are a lot less. One more thing that I want to go over here. And again, these are very interesting statistics that you as a standby power dealer should probably know just in your discussions with your sales team and understanding what's going on out there. One last thing that I want to go over here with you. How many people in the United States have central air conditioning? 89.5% of people have central air conditioning. Home security. 29% of homes have some home security. Now, I can tell you, I worked a few years for ADT in their national accounts group many, many years ago. And out of those 29.5%, they say that less than 10% actually set their alarms and that have a security system. People just don't set them. They have a sense of security that they have it, but they don't set their alarms. So that's just something else to talk about. Portable generators. How many people in the United States have portable generators? 22.7% of people have portable generators. 22.7. I think that that's really what the target rate is for home standby generators in the United States. Right now, as I mentioned before, and hopefully you were paying attention, that the penetration right now for home standby generators in the United States is 6.5%. Well, 22.7% of people have portables. That means that they're getting ready and they know that they need to have, I think, quite frankly, that that's the real penetration rate that we're going to get in the United States. So we're only 1/3, only 25% of the way there as far as what we're going to be doing, hopefully, in the next years to come for generators. So if you're a business owner and you're looking either to get into the industry, invest into your standby generator company, grow your standby generator company, I think if you look at the data that's right there, it's definitely a great investment to be into. One last thing before we go is who is buying. Let's take a look at who is buying standby generators. Again, this comes from Generac, and this is their marketing trends that they see. Again, extremely important in understanding how that all works. 75% of buyers are age 50 and older. So your demographic is 50 and older. I would say probably the majority of them are 60 and over that you're going to, but 75% are 50 and older. The average median house that you're going to and that are buying a generator, their house is worth over $500,000. That's the median You're going to sell to a lot of people in ranch houses that are worth $250,000, $350,000, but they're probably young families that are working and have children and they're struggling. You're mostly going to be looking at the homes where the people either own them, the house is worth over $500,000. 135,000 median income for those people that are living there. And another interesting trend, because as you know, really the start of home standby generators really started to accelerate, about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, where you really started to see some growth. It was pretty flat years and years and years ago. Well, let's talk about retrofit or replacement units. I remember back, this must have been 12, 15 years ago, sitting in a Generac dealer conference, and Aaron Yegfeld stood up and said, your big business opportunities coming up are not only maintenance and service, but replacement units that are out there that need to be replaced. Remember, the life expectancy of these home standbys is just like any other residential appliance, whether it's your refrigerator, your furnace, your air conditioning unit. They're all designed to last about 15 years. So if they're maintained, yes, you get 18 years out of it. I don't know if you get 20 because then you get into parts issues and things like that. But look at the opportunity for replacement units of people that already have automatic home standby generators that need to have them replaced because they've already relied on them. They know that once you have the home standby units, you want to have it. So there's huge opportunity for you, not only for new installations, not only for doing maintenance, but also for replacement units that are out there. So just a huge opportunity out there. Just wanted to pass this along. Again, my name is Jim Swetman. Thank you very much for listening to the Home Standby Generator podcast. Thank you for tuning in to the Standby Generator podcast. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share. For more resources, tips, and to connect with other like-minded professionals, visit us at poweralliance.com or visit our social media pages. Until next time, keep powering up your business.